Iowa and Illinois may be neighboring states, but they have a ton of differences. In this video, we're going to go focus on the cost of living and touch on other differentiating factors. Let's start with some basic facts about each state. Illinois has a much larger population than Iowa, with the mega city Chicago part of the state. Illinois' population is approximately 12 to 13 million people, where Iowa's population is just over 3 million people. The main differentiating factor on population is the city of Chicago, which is the third most populous city in America, with its metropolitan area consisting of just under 10 million people. That means that the population is similar if you take Chicago out of the equation. There is a reason Chicago is so populated and has something that Iowa does not have, and that is Lake Michigan. This huge Great Lake has some of the most beautiful views in all the midwestern United States. Other than Chicago and Lake Michigan, much of Illinois and Iowa has a similar landscape with many cornfields and beautiful rolling hills or inland rivers. Next up is politics that are always a polarizing topic, but this video wouldn't be complete without mentioning it. Illinois is known for its dedication to the Democratic Party, as Illinois, as long as I can remember, has always voted blue or for the Democratic Party. In the last presidential election, according to Wikipedia.com, Illinois residents voted 57.54% for Democrat Joe Biden to 40.55% voted for Republican Donald Trump, meaning that Joe Biden won Illinois easily by 17 points over Donald Trump. If you compare that to Iowa, where Donald Trump won with 53.1% of votes over Joe Biden, who got 44.9% of votes, Donald Trump won Iowa by over 8 points. This means that Illinois leans very, very strong on the Democratic side when it comes to voting compared to Iowa, who voted strong Republican but a little more moderate. My main speculation is that with politics as volatile as ever and working with so many out-of-state people here in Iowa, is that many people who are Republican and the state they are living in is Democratic, or they just don't like the direction it's going, they are now looking at Iowa as a possible landing spot to live at, where Illinois attracts people who want a liberal or Democratic leaning state. Overall, even though Illinois and Iowa border each other, politically, they are very different. Like I mentioned just before, we help people relocate to Iowa all the time and would absolutely love to serve you as well. So if you're considering Iowa as a place to live, shoot us a text, give us a call, or email us, as we absolutely can't wait to assist you in learning more about what it is like to live in Iowa or get the ball rolling on moving to this amazing Midwestern state. Now we are going to get to the cost of living, as it plays such a huge role in most people's decision on where to live in the US. I got my information for this from bestplaces.net, and according to their scale, 100 is the US average. We will compare each category of grocery, health, housing, median home cost, utilities, transportation, and after we cover all of those categories, we will give an overall cost of living score. So let's start with groceries. In this category, Iowa and Illinois are about equal, where Illinois scored a 94 and Iowa scored a 94.4. Technically, Illinois wins this category, but by a very small margin, and I just call it a wash. Next is health. Illinois is much more affordable than Iowa in this category, where Illinois scores a 96.9 and Iowa scores a much less affordable score of 108.2. The average healthcare cost in Illinois is much more affordable. Now we are going to housing, where both score below the national average, but Iowa kicks Illinois' butt in this category. Iowa scores at an amazingly affordable score of 55.4, where Illinois scores at an 80.2. When it comes to housing, Iowa is hard to beat for affordability and quality of housing. For example, the median home cost in Iowa is $194,900, where in Illinois, the median home cost sits at $241,700. That is nearly a $50,000 difference in home prices. That is a huge difference to get the most bang for your buck when it comes to housing. Utilities are up next, where Illinois slightly edges Iowa. Illinois scores a 97.7, where Iowa scores a 98.5. Now we are on to transportation, where Iowa is much more affordable with lower gas prices. Iowa scores a 71.4 and Illinois scores a much higher score at 106.2. In this category, Iowa is much easier on your checking account. After all these categories considered, Iowa is much more affordable overall with a score of 80.1 when it comes to cost of living. And Illinois comes in at 93.7. Illinois is not an unaffordable place to live by any means, and Chicago skews their numbers, but Chicago is a huge part of Illinois and should be considered into it all. Lastly, I want to look at taxes in both states to see how they compare. We will start with the property taxes and use taxrate.org for the information on this tax information. In Illinois, the average property tax rate sits at 1.73%, which is extremely high. For a $200,000 home in Illinois, you will pay on average around $3,460 a year, or approximately $288 a month. Now in Iowa, the tax rate for the average home is at 1.29%, which is still high compared to the rest of the US, but is considerably lower than Illinois. For that same $200,000 home in Iowa, you would pay $2,580 yearly for taxes, or $215 a month. If you are interested in learning more about Iowa and the top places to see before you die in the state of Iowa, make sure to watch the video linked above after you finish this video. Also make sure to like the video, subscribe, and hit that bell so you are notified each time we make a new video on Iowa. Next up for taxes is sales tax. Iowa narrowly edges Illinois in this category, where Iowa has a sales rate tax of 6%, where Illinois has a sales tax rate of 6.25%. Now we need to talk about income tax, where Illinois takes the cake as it has a flat tax of 4.95%. I like that because it keeps it really simple, and Iowa is on a tax bracket, which is really confusing. Before I get to the tax bracket, Iowa is closing in on huge changes in income tax. This could really move the needle, as from the sounds of it, it may be even better than Illinois when it comes to income taxes. But for now, Iowa has a tax bracket that goes from 0 all the way up to 8.53% for anyone individual making over $78,435 or a couple making $79,435. This means if you earn a good amount of money in Iowa, Iowa is not the most tax-friendly state at this moment in time. Overall, I think Iowa and Illinois is a win depending on your situation when it comes to taxes. If you make a lot of money, then Illinois is better, as income taxes are much better, and Iowa is better if you don't get an extremely high tax bracket and pay much less in property taxes and slightly lower in sales tax. For myself, I think when it comes to taxes, Illinois wins. I would rather lower income taxes than a situation of lower property taxes and sales tax in this scenario. Once the tax bracket is fixed in Iowa, I think Iowa is going to knock Illinois out of the water in taxes. Overall, I think Iowa wins when it comes to overall cost of living, but it honestly was a lot closer than I thought it would be in this video. All in all, each state is right for certain individuals, and if you'd like to talk more about moving to Iowa, let us know by giving us a call, shooting us a text, or sending us an email.